She arrived at the gate with a suitcase, a fresh haircut, and a confidence that felt clean. That confidence lasted 12 minutes. 12 minutes was all it took for the army to do what it did best: strip away the illusion that you were prepared, then replace it with something harder: discipline, pain, and the quiet understanding that nobody cared about your intentions. Private Maya Hart stood in line with 20 other recruits under a sun that didn't believe in mercy. Dust hung in the air like an accusation. The base gate loomed ahead, metal and concrete, guarded by men who looked like they'd seen every kind of confidence walk through and break. Maya held her shoulders back. She had trained. She had run in the mornings, lifted weights, watched endless videos about basic training, memorized ranks and rules, and how to fold a shirt into the size of a book. She had learned how to shoot at a range outside her hometown. She had practiced waking up at 5 a.m. just to prove she could. She was ready. She told herself that again as a drill sergeant stepped out of the shade. He was tall, broad, voice like gravel poured into a megaphone. His eyes moved across the line, taking measurements that weren't written down. "Welcome," he roared, "to your new life." The recruits flinched like a single organism. Maya didn't. She kept her chin level. The drill sergeant noticed. Of course he did. He walked straight up to her, close enough that she smelled coffee and sweat and something sharp, like steel warmed by sun. "What's your name, trainee?" he barked. Maya answered clearly. "Private Maya Hart, drill sergeant." His eyebrows rose slightly. "Private Maya Hart," he repeated slowly, like he was tasting it. "You think you're special?" "No, drill sergeant." He leaned closer. "Your face is telling me yes." Maya's throat tightened. She kept her voice steady. "No, drill sergeant." His smile was thin. "We'll fix that." He stepped back and turned to the whole line. "You," he shouted, pointing at a recruit who was fidgeting. "You're late." The recruit stammered. "Drill sergeant, You're late," the drill sergeant repeated louder. Then he turned back to Maya and shouted, "And you're smiling." Maya wasn't smiling. She hadn't been. But the drill sergeant wasn't accusing her of expression. He was accusing her of posture, of confidence, of the dangerous belief that her preparation made her immune. "Drop," he barked. The entire line dropped into push-ups. Dust rose. Maya's palms hit the ground, and the heat burned through her skin. "Down," he roared. "Up." Maya pushed. "Down. Up." Her arms moved automatically. She had trained for this. She could do push-ups. But training at home wasn't training here. Here, the ground was hotter. The air was thicker. And the drill sergeant's voice was a weight that pressed down on your spine. "Down. Up." Someone behind her began to shake. "Down. Up." A recruit coughed. "Down. Up." Maya's arms started to burn. "Down. Up." The drill sergeant crouched beside her and shouted into her face, "You think you're ready?" Maya forced her breath through her teeth. "Yes, drill sergeant." His grin widened, cruel and pleased. "Good. Then this should be easy." He stood and turned to the line again. "Welcome to Basic," he said. "This is where you learn what ready actually means." That night, Maya lay in a barracks bunk staring at the ceiling. The room smelled like detergent, sweat, and fear. Around her, girls and boys she'd met only hours ago were already changing, some crying quietly into pillows, some staring blankly at walls, some whispering prayers they didn't believe in until now. Maya didn't cry, not because she didn't feel it, but because she didn't want anyone to see the crack. She had always been the girl who had it together, the pretty one, the smart one, the one teachers praised because she answered questions quickly and smiled like life was easy. She hated that version of herself in that moment, because she realized how quickly people assumed the world would be kind to her. It wasn't. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep. The lights snapped on. "Up!" a drill sergeant screamed. "Get up!" Maya jolted upright, heart hammering. It was 2:13, or 2:12. Time didn't matter here. Only response. They were on their feet in seconds, stumbling into formation outside, half-dressed, boots unlaced. The air had turned cold, sharp against sweaty skin. Another drill sergeant paced in front of them, a different one. Female, short, muscular, eyes like knives. "You want to know what fair is?" she shouted. No one answered. She moved closer, scanning faces. "Fair is where you learn you don't get it." Maya's jaw tightened. The female drill sergeant stopped in front of Maya and looked her up and down with a look that felt personal. "You," she said. "You think you're better." Maya's voice was steady. "No, drill sergeant." The drill sergeant leaned in. "You're pretty. Pretty girls always think the rules bend." Maya felt heat crawl up her neck. It was the first time since she arrived that she wanted to snap back. But snapping back was how you died here. Not physically, but socially. They would isolate you, mark you, make you the example. Maya swallowed. "I'm here to serve," she said. "Not to be treated differently." The drill sergeant smiled without warmth. "Good. Then you won't mind being treated the same." She turned to the line. "Run," she screamed. "Until I get tired." The run broke people. Not in one dramatic collapse. In little failures. A recruit tripped and fell, scraping knees raw. Another vomited and kept running. Someone started crying openly, sobbing through breath. Maya ran. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. But she ran. She had trained for running. She could do this. Then her boot caught on uneven pavement, and she stumbled, nearly falling. The drill sergeant's voice snapped behind her like a whip. "Look at that," she shouted. "Private Hart is human." Maya caught herself and kept running. But the words stayed. Private Hart is human. As if being human was a crime. The unfairness wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was quiet. It was the way certain recruits were corrected gently while others were screamed at. It was the way one boy who bragged loudly got laughed off as motivated, while a girl who stood tall was called arrogant. It was the way Maya noticed that when she spoke confidently, people assumed she was performing. When a guy spoke confidently, people assumed he was leading. And it made something hard form inside her. Not bitterness. A plan. If she wanted respect, she couldn't ask for it. She would have to take it in small, undeniable pieces. One drill at a time. The first time she fought back wasn't loud. It wasn't a confrontation. It was a test. Week 2 obstacle course. Ropes, walls, mud pits, and a tower that seemed designed specifically to humiliate anyone who feared heights. Maya watched other recruits climb. Some froze halfway. The drill sergeant laughed. Maya stepped forward when her name was called. She climbed without hesitation. Halfway up, her hand slipped because sweat turned rope into an enemy. She almost fell. The drill sergeant shouted, "Go ahead, pretty girl. Fall." Maya's fingers tightened until pain turned into fuel. She climbed. At the top, wind slapped her face hard. She looked down at the course, then down at the recruits watching. She wanted to prove something. Not to the drill sergeant, to herself. She climbed down faster than she should have, controlled but aggressive, boots hitting wood, hands steady. When she reached the ground, her arms were shaking. She stood anyway. The female drill sergeant stared at her, then said quietly, just loud enough for Maya to hear, "Better." It wasn't praise, but it was the first crack in the wall. That night, Maya wrote one sentence on the inside cover of her notebook, where no one could see it. "They don't get to decide who I become." She underlined it twice. And in that moment, the story truly began. Because the army hadn't broken her. It had challenged her. And Maya Hart was about to become the kind of soldier that made people stop underestimating her. Not by asking them to, but by forcing reality to speak louder than their bias. By week 3, Maya learned a truth that nobody wrote on recruitment posters. Basic training wasn't designed to be fair. It was designed to be revealing. If you needed fairness to function, you weren't ready. If you needed praise to endure, you were going to collapse the first time no one clapped. And if you believed the system would protect you from other people's ego, you were about to learn something sharper. It happened on a Wednesday, hot, bright, and ordinary enough to feel harmless. They'd been running drill after drill under the sun, learning formations, weapon handling, and the 1,000 tiny rules that turned a group of civilians into something that could be controlled. The female drill sergeant Larkin, had been watching Maya differently lately. Not softer, more focused. Maya couldn't tell if that was improvement or escalation. That afternoon, they were assigned to clean the barracks. Cleaning in basic training wasn't about hygiene. It was about control. It was about forcing you to do the same thing until your brain stopped trying to argue. Fold, wipe, scrub, align, repeat. 1,000 small obediences. Maya was on floor duty with 3 others. Tasha, a tall girl with a sharp tongue, Bree, quiet and anxious, and a guy named Nolan from another platoon assigned temporarily for punishment. They worked in silence at first. Then Tasha muttered, "Watch. They're going to smoke us no matter what." Maya kept scrubbing. "Then let them smoke us for something real." Tasha snorted. "You're still trying to be perfect." Maya didn't look up. "No, I'm trying to be prepared." The words sounded stronger than she felt. Because she was tired. Everyone was. They finished on time. Floors shining. Beds aligned. Dust gone from corners. Maya was careful. She'd learned that good enough was never good enough if someone wanted you to fail. Larkin inspected the barracks with the slow pace of a predator. She stopped at Maya's locker. Maya's chest tightened. Larkin stared at the perfectly folded shirts, the socks rolled tight, the boots aligned like soldiers. For a moment, it looked like she would move on. Then she reached into the back corner of the locker and pulled out something small. A torn piece of paper. Maya's stomach dropped. It wasn't hers. She knew it instantly. It was a crumpled note with a crude drawing and a line of text that made the air go cold. Drill Sergeant Larkin is a... The rest was smeared. The meaning wasn't. Gasps rippled through the room. Maya's mind raced. That note had not been in her locker this morning. Someone had put it there. Larkin held it up for everyone to see. Her expression didn't change. But the room changed anyway, because anger that quiet was always the most dangerous kind. "Private Hart," Larkin said, voice calm, almost conversational. "Explain." Maya swallowed hard. "I've never seen that before, Drill Sergeant," she said. Larkin tilted her head. "So you're saying someone planted it?" "Yes, Drill Sergeant." The word planted hung in the air like smoke. Larkin's eyes narrowed. "Who?" Maya's throat tightened. She could guess. She could feel the stares in the room. The tension. The way Tasha's posture stiffened too quickly. The way Nolan's eyes dropped to the floor. But guessing wasn't proof. And accusations without proof were suicide. "I don't know, Drill Sergeant," Maya said carefully. Larkin nodded slowly, as if Maya had confirmed something. "Interesting," she said. She folded the note with deliberate care, then slid it into her pocket. "Private Hart," she continued. "You will report to the training yard in 10 minutes. Maya's pulse hammered. "Yes, Drill Sergeant." Larkin turned to the rest of the platoon. "The rest of you," she said, voice rising now, "will learn something about accountability." Her eyes cut across the room like a blade. "You will thank Private Hart for this lesson." The smoke session wasn't just physical. It was psychological. They lined Maya up in front of the platoon, alone on a patch of dirt that radiated heat. Larkin paced in front of her like a judge. "You want to tell me you didn't write that note?" Larkin said. "Yes, Drill Sergeant." "And you want to tell me it just magically appeared in your locker?" "Yes, Drill Sergeant." Larkin stopped close enough that Maya could see the tiny vein pulsing near her temple. "Here's what I know," Larkin said quietly. "People like you come in here and believe the rules will protect them. You believe being good will keep you safe." Maya forced herself not to flinch. "You want to be respected," Larkin continued. "But you haven't earned anything yet." Maya's fingers curled slightly. "I'm earning it," she said. Larkin smiled. "Then earn this." She stepped back and shouted, "Down." Maya dropped into push-ups. "Up." Maya pushed. Larkin's voice cut like a whip. "Down." The rhythm became torture. Push-ups, burpees, sprints, planks until arms trembled. And the entire platoon watched. Not because they were cruel, Because they were afraid to look away. If Maya could be made an example, anyone could. At one point, Maya's arms failed, and she collapsed onto her chest, breath knocked out. Larkin crouched beside her and whispered, "This is what it feels like to be alone." Maya's vision blurred. She tasted dirt. Then she forced herself back up. Not for pride. For survival. The smoke session ended only when Larkin decided she'd proven her point. Maya stood shaking, drenched in sweat, throat raw, muscles trembling like wires stretched too tight. Larkin faced the platoon. "This," she shouted, pointing at Maya, "is what happens when you disrespect the chain." Maya wanted to scream that she hadn't done it. But she didn't. Because she understood the real game now. This wasn't about truth. This was about control. And someone had used her as a lever. That night, the barracks felt colder than it should have. Maya lay on her bunk staring at the ceiling, body aching in deep layers. Tasha climbed into her own bunk without looking at her. Bree whispered from the darkness, "I'm sorry." Maya didn't answer. Not because she was angry, because she was thinking. She replayed the moment Larkin pulled the note out of her locker. The placement, the timing, the way Larkin seemed almost prepared. That meant one of two things. Either Larkin had planted it herself, unlikely, but not impossible, or someone else had planted it, and Larkin had chosen to use it. Either way, the truth didn't matter tonight. What mattered was what Maya did next. She could turn bitter. She could isolate. Or she could do something more dangerous. She could become undeniable. The next day, Maya approached the one person in the platoon who had the eyes of someone who didn't panic. Private Sienna Cole. Sienna was quiet, observant, and always positioned just slightly outside the herd. Not a loner, something else. A watcher. Maya sat beside her during chow, voice low. "Someone put that note in my locker," Maya said. Sienna didn't react. She ate slowly, like she had time. "I know," she said. Maya blinked. "You know who?" Sienna chewed once, then answered calmly, "Nolan." Maya's pulse spiked. "How do you know?" Sienna finally looked at her. "Because he was in your bay when you weren't. Because he's been trying to get out of punishment detail. And because he's weak." Maya stared. "Why would he?" Sienna shrugged. "He thought you'd break. He thought they'd recycle you." Recycle. The word hit like a punch. It meant you failed and got sent back weeks, humiliation and delay. Maya's hands tightened. "Can you prove it?" she asked. Sienna's gaze stayed calm. "Not yet." Maya swallowed. Then she nodded once. "Then we'll get proof," she said. Sienna's mouth twitched, barely. "Welcome to the real training," she said. That afternoon, Maya saw Nolan watching her from across the yard, smiling like he'd gotten away with something. And for the first time since she arrived, Maya felt something clean and sharp inside her. Not anger. Purpose. Because she understood now. Justice in this place didn't arrive because you deserved it. It arrived because you earned enough strength to demand it, quietly, strategically, without giving anyone a reason to dismiss you as emotional. Maya's heart wasn't going to explode. She was going to build. And when the moment came, everyone would hear the truth, because she would make it impossible to ignore. The trap couldn't be obvious. That was the first rule Sienna laid down. "People like Nolan," she said quietly one night while the barracks slept, "don't walk into danger unless they think they're smarter than it." Maya lay on her bunk, arms sore, staring at the underside of the bed above her. Every muscle still remembered the smoke session. Every breath still carried the memory of dirt in her mouth. "Then we let him think he is," Maya whispered. Sienna's voice came from the darkness, calm and precise. "Exactly. They didn't rush. That was the hardest part." Every instinct Maya had screamed to confront Nolan, to demand answers, to force the truth into daylight. But basic training punished impatience harder than weakness. The moment you reacted emotionally, you gave the system an excuse to crush you. So Maya waited. She ran harder. She spoke less. She volunteered for details no one wanted. Latrine duty, night fire watch, extra PT. Not to impress anyone, but to become invisible in the right ways. And slowly, something shifted. Drill Sergeant Larkin still watched her, but differently now. Less like a predator circling prey, more like a craftsman testing material. "You don't quit," Larkin said one morning after a brutal run. "No, Drill Sergeant," Maya replied. Larkin studied her face. "You learn." It wasn't forgiveness. But it wasn't contempt either. Nolan grew careless. People always did when they thought they'd won. He started talking more, laughing louder, complaining openly about the drills, about the food, about the power trips of the sergeants. He positioned himself as a victim, a relatable voice among recruits who were exhausted and angry. Maya listened. Sienna watched. The proof came by accident, or what looked like accident. During weapons maintenance, Nolan leaned close to another recruit and muttered, "Doesn't matter what they accuse you of. They'll always pick someone like her." Maya's hand stilled on the rifle. Someone like her. The words were quiet, but not quiet enough. Sienna's eyes flicked up. That night, Sienna approached Nolan casually near the water fountain. "You got lucky," she said. Nolan smirked. "Lucky how?" "With heart," Sienna said. "Could have been you." Nolan shrugged. "Too fast." "Yeah. Guess she rubbed someone the wrong way." Sienna tilted her head. "Or someone rubbed her locker." Nolan laughed, then stopped. Sienna smiled gently. "Relax. I'm not saying anything." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Honestly, she deserved it. Came in acting like she was better than everyone. Nolan's shoulders relaxed. "Exactly," he said. "I mean," he caught himself. Sienna nodded, like she understood. "You just gave them what they needed." Nolan grinned, pride blooming. "That's how this place works." Sienna didn't respond. She didn't need to, because now they had something better than anger. They had confirmation. Maya wanted to confront him that night. Sienna stopped her. "Not yet," she whispered. "You only get one chance." Maya clenched her jaw. "I'm tired of carrying this." Sienna's gaze was steady. "So am I. That's why we don't drop it in the dirt." Maya nodded. She trusted Sienna, and that trust would be tested sooner than she expected. The mistake came during live fire training. It was the kind of day that made fear feel sharp and real. Rifles loaded, rounds cracking through air, dirt spraying under impact. The instructors watched like hawks, waiting for hesitation. Maya had always been a good shot. That was part of why she believed she belonged here. But today her hands shook. Not from fear, from pressure. She wanted to be perfect. She wanted to prove she wasn't weak, wasn't privileged, wasn't just a face people underestimated. She rushed the shot. The round hit wide. Not dangerous, but noticeable. "Cease fire," the instructor roared. Silence slammed down. Everyone looked at Maya. The instructor stepped toward her slowly. "What happened, Private?" Maya swallowed. "I rushed, Sergeant." The instructor studied her. "Why?" Maya hesitated. Then she said the wrong thing. "I wanted to get it right." The instructor's eyes hardened. "You don't get it right by wanting. You get it right by breathing." He turned to the line. "This is how people get hurt. This is what pressure does." Maya's chest burned. She had given them another reason to doubt her. Afterward, Larkin called her aside. "You think this is about proving something," Larkin said quietly. "It's not." Maya stood rigid. "I understand, Drill Sergeant." "No," Larkin replied. "You don't." She leaned in. "You're trying to win a private war while missing the public one." Maya's breath caught. Larkin straightened. "Fix that." That night, Maya sat alone on the steps outside the barracks, helmet in her hands, staring at the ground. For the first time, the weight felt heavy enough to crush her. Not because she was weak, because she was tired of being strong alone. Footsteps approached. She looked up. Staff Sergeant Reed stood there, one of the instructors who rarely spoke, rarely smiled, and missed nothing. "Why are you here?" he asked. "Thinking," Maya replied. Reed nodded. "That'll get you in trouble." She almost laughed. "Do you think I did it?" Maya asked suddenly. "The note." Reed looked at her for a long moment. "No," he said. Her throat tightened. "Then why?" "Because this place doesn't care who's right," Reed interrupted. "It cares who endures." Maya stared at him. He lowered his voice. But endurance has a way of exposing lies. He stood. Don't quit, he added. And don't rush justice. It arrives on its own schedule. Then he walked away. Maya watched him go. Something steadied inside her. She wasn't alone anymore. Not completely. The next morning, Sienna handed Maya a folded slip of paper during formation. 3 words written small and precise. Tonight. He talks. Maya exhaled slowly. The waiting was almost over. But she didn't know yet that when justice finally came, it wouldn't just expose Nolan. It would expose the system itself. And it would force everyone, from recruits to drill sergeants, to choose between convenience and truth. Night in basic training was never quiet. Even when the lights went out and voices were forbidden, the place breathed, boots shifting on concrete, distant generators humming, someone coughing in their sleep. It was the sound of people being reshaped. Tonight, that sound worked in Maya's favor. Sienna had planned it carefully. Not a confrontation, not an accusation. A moment where Nolan would hang himself with his own words. Fire watch rotated every hour. 2 recruits awake while the rest slept. Clipboards. Checkpoints. Routine so dull it made people careless. Sienna made sure Nolan had the second watch. Maya took the first. They crossed paths near the end of Maya's shift, the hallway dim, emergency lights painting everything in pale green. Rough night, Nolan muttered, stretching. Maya forced a tired smile. Every night. Nolan smirked. You get used to it. She hesitated, just enough to look uncertain. Hey, can I ask you something? He glanced at her, surprised. Yeah. Maya lowered her voice. About that note. I know you said nothing, but do you really think someone wanted to get me kicked out? Nolan laughed quietly. This place? People do worse for less. She nodded slowly. Guess I shouldn't have trusted anyone. The words were bait. Nolan took it. Trust is how you lose, he said. You play the game, or the game plays you. Maya looked at the floor. I don't even know how. Nolan leaned closer, voice low, proud. You learn where to put things. When to let someone else take the hit. Maya's heart thudded. Like what? She asked softly. Nolan shrugged. Like knowing lockers don't get checked twice. There it was. Clean. Unforced. Behind a supply rack, Sienna held her breath, and the small recorder hidden in her sleeve caught every word. The fallout didn't happen immediately. That was the worst part. Maya wanted to march straight to Larkin, slam the truth on her desk, demand the apology she deserved. But Sienna stopped her. Evidence is power, she whispered. Timing is control. They waited 2 days. 2 days where Nolan grew bolder. 2 days where Maya endured sideways looks and quiet resentment from recruits who still believed she had gotten away with something. 2 days where Larkin watched everything. On the 3rd day, during formation, Larkin stopped pacing. Private Nolan, she barked. Front and center. Nolan stiffened, then stepped forward. Private Hart, Larkin added. You too. Maya's stomach tightened. The entire platoon felt it. Larkin's voice cut through the air. We're going to clear something up. She nodded to Staff Sergeant Reed. Reed stepped forward and held up a device. Last night, he said calmly. This came to my attention. He pressed play. Nolan's voice echoed through the formation. You learn where to put things. When to let someone else take the hit. Silence. Then, like knowing lockers don't get checked twice. Nolan's face drained of color. Larkin didn't shout. That was worse. She walked slowly to Nolan and stopped inches from him. You understand, she said quietly, that you didn't just lie to me. Nolan swallowed hard. Drill Sergeant, You undermined discipline, Larkin continued. You targeted a fellow recruit. And you wasted my time. She turned to the platoon. This, she said, pointing at Nolan, is what weakness looks like. Then she turned to Maya. And this, she said, her gaze steady, is what endurance looks like. Maya stood perfectly still, heart pounding. Larkin nodded once. Private Hart, she said. You were wronged. The words landed like thunder. Not loud, but undeniable. Nolan was removed from formation and escorted away, His future decided in quiet offices he would never see. The platoon stood frozen. Justice had arrived. Not screaming, not dramatic, just final. That night, the barracks felt different. People looked at Maya differently. Not with pity, with respect. Sienna sat beside her bunk and smiled faintly. Told you. Maya exhaled, long and deep. Thank you. Sienna shrugged. You did the hard part. Across the room, Bree whispered, I'm glad it was you. Maya lay back and stared at the ceiling again. But this time, she didn't feel small. She felt forged. Because the unfairness hadn't disappeared. But she had learned how to survive it, without losing herself. And somewhere inside, she understood something vital. The army wouldn't hand her justice, but it would respect the woman who earned it. The last phase of training didn't announce itself with fanfare. It arrived quietly, like most things that mattered. No one said this is the part that defines you. No one warned them that everything they'd carried, every injustice, every doubt, every small victory, would be tested in a way that didn't care about explanations. They simply handed out schedules. Field exercise, 48 hours, limited sleep, limited food, limited patience. Maya folded the paper and slid it into her pocket. Her hands didn't shake. They hadn't in days. The trucks dropped them miles from base, where the land stretched wide and indifferent. The air smelled of dust and heat and something older, like endurance baked into the ground. Drill Sergeant Larkin addressed them briefly. You are not here to be comfortable, she said. You are here to function. She looked down the line. Her gaze paused on Maya for half a second longer than the rest. Not judgment. Assessment. Then the platoon moved out. The exercise was designed to fracture groups. Conflicting orders. Time pressure. Incomplete information. The kind of environment where weak leadership surfaced fast, and good leadership got punished before it got rewarded. Maya stayed quiet at first. She had learned that lesson well. She watched how people moved. Who rushed? Who froze? Who complained? Who adapted? She noticed how small decisions rippled outward, how a careless word drained morale, how a calm tone steadied it. By nightfall, exhaustion began to strip away politeness. Arguments flared. A recruit snapped at another for slowing them down. Someone suggested cutting a corner through rough terrain. Maya listened. Then she spoke. Shortcut costs us daylight later, she said evenly. We go around. One recruit scoffed. You always think you know better. Maya met his eyes, not defensively, not aggressively. I think we're tired, she said. And tired people make bad deals. Silence followed. Then Sienna nodded. She's right. They went around. They reached the checkpoint with minutes to spare. No one said thank you. They didn't need to. The breaking point came at dawn on the second day. Sleep-deprived. Hungry. Sun already climbing. They were given a final task. Move a simulated casualty, dead weight, over uneven terrain to an extraction point. Halfway there, a recruit collapsed. Panic flickered. Voices overlapped. Someone shouted to leave him. Someone else froze. The moment hung, heavy and fragile. Maya stepped forward. We slow the pace, she said. Rotate carries. Hydrate now, not later. A recruit snapped back. You're not in charge. Maya didn't raise her voice. No, she agreed. But the clock doesn't care. She knelt beside the fallen recruit, checked his condition, redistributed weight with quick efficiency. Sienna followed without hesitation. Others followed after that. Not because Maya demanded it, because she made sense. They moved again. Every step burned. Every muscle screamed. But they moved. When they reached the extraction point, the instructors were waiting. Watching. Larkin stepped forward. She looked at the casualty, then at the platoon, then at Maya. Who led this movement, she asked. No one answered. Maya didn't either. Larkin's gaze sharpened. I didn't ask who wanted to. I asked who did. A pause. Then one recruit spoke. Hart. Another nodded. Yeah, Hart. Larkin studied Maya for a long moment. Then she said something no one expected. Step forward. Maya did. You didn't ask permission, Larkin said. No, drill sergeant. You didn't wait for orders. No, drill sergeant. Larkin nodded slowly. Good. The word landed harder than any shout. Graduation came quietly. No parade. No speeches about glory. Just formation, names called, ranks pinned. When Maya's name was called, she stepped forward with steady hands. The pin pressed into her collar, solid, real. She felt its weight settle. Larkin stood in front of her, voice low. You learned something important here, she said. Yes, drill sergeant. Larkin's eyes held hers. What was it? Maya thought for a moment, then answered honestly. That fairness isn't given, she said. But integrity lasts. Larkin's mouth twitched, not quite a smile. She stepped back. Later, when the crowd thinned and the base returned to routine, Maya sat on the steps outside the barracks again. The same place she'd nearly broken weeks before. The sun was softer now. Sienna sat beside her, boots off, hair pulled loose. You made it, Sienna said. Maya nodded. We did. Sienna smirked. You know they're going to expect more from you now. Maya looked out across the yard. Good. She thought of the girl who'd arrived at the gate. Clean confidence, untested belief. She didn't hate that girl, but she didn't need her anymore. What remained was quieter, stronger, something that didn't need approval to exist. That night, Maya opened her notebook for the last time. She turned to the first page, where the sentence still waited. They don't get to decide who I become. She smiled softly. Then she wrote beneath it. But I do. She closed the notebook. And for the first time since she'd arrived, sleep came easily. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Epic Recon Stories. Here we tell the missions that never made the headlines, the decisions made in silence, and the people who carried them. More stories are coming soon.